Welcome back to Visited by Voices Live. It is a Friday in April, a day after the most obnoxious day of the year where people lie to each other and actually admit that they lied to each other, which defeats the whole purpose of lying to each other. I am joined today by Sam Carlson, who is the voice, the face, and the emotion behind the Sheebies Jeebies podcast, which you can find everywhere that you love podcasts, and now you can find it on YouTube as well. How you doing,
Slowly
Sam?
but surely, there will be more episodes getting uploaded, I promise.
Well, we need them. The name of this show is Visited by Voices, and the voices are what's really important in this community. A lot of different viewpoints and people who aren't afraid to step outside of the orthodoxy of the common fandom, which just repeats the same nonsense over and over and over. So believe me, a unique individual voice that's unafraid, we need more of that.
I just talk about my period so much on the show, though, and it's like, it seems like when I record, I'm usually on the rag, and I have to tell everybody about it. And I'm not even on my period right now, but I have a bad feeling that as soon as I'm done with the show, I'm going to get my period.
Well, there was like 20 minutes during the Ginger Snaps podcast that was pretty explicitly about menstruation, but the movie is, so I guess that all works. I just think we know what we're in for when we get to your Carrie episode, so.
Oh, wait till my Bloody Valentine gets put up on there.
You're stretching there a little bit, but I appreciate it. There's only so many horror films about menstruation, I guess. And the audience is like, I didn't realize this show would be about menstruation, but you never know.
Oh, this show is going to be about a lot of bodily functions.
So, my go-to question to start these things off: how did you originally get bit by the horror bug? What was that inciting incident?
I blame my parents, like most of us do. They took me to see Tremors when I was like 5 in the theater, and I loved the movie. I didn't have a problem with it. I wasn't scared, and that is really what got me into horror. And my mom actually saw The Birds when she was 6. Her parents took her to that. So it just kind of runs in the family. And, after that, it was kind of, a weekly thing because my mom and I would always go to Blockbuster Video back when those existed in more than just Alaska. And we'd go and pick out movies and we'd scour the horror section. So it was like picking out a tape and discovering something new every week and, have a pizza. And eventually, you have that. And then later on, we got great stuff like The X-Files. And I know probably nobody remembers Millennium, but I liked Millennium with Lance Henriksen.
Millennium is my favorite show that's ever been on television.
Oh, sweet.
In fact, I have both the Laserdisc of the pilot episode. I have both novelizations that came out, and of course, I have this show. I'm a huge Millennium fan. I think it surpasses X-Files in every way. Even the third season, which admittedly they tried to make into a more conventional show for some reason, but I think the second season is the best thing that's ever been on television. I
need to go back and rewatch it, especially, because it's been so long. I don't think I've seen it since I was a kid, and I'm sorry, I'm 36. If anybody's wondering, and so you do the math. Y'all figure it out. So I remember the Millennium logo, and it looked like an Ouroboros, and I don't know if that factored into the mythology at some point, but I actually became really interested in the Ouroboros later on when I got into like Carl Jung, which I blame Nightmare on Elm Street for, because that's how I got down the road to dream theory.
Eventually Millennium did kind of deal with the Ouroboros, but it's so deep in the lore. Again, the second season really gets into all of that. And then the third season says, no, we're a cop show again, which is still cool. They're still dealing with strange cases and stuff, but the second season was just so brilliantly off the rails. So where did this take you to? How did it take me from, Tremors and Millennium to Sheebie-Jeebies?
Oh, fuck. Well, I would say like a large part of my childhood was spent like being obsessed with Nightmare on Elm Street. And I watched Freddy Said the Final Nightmare so many times. Like, I rented it so many times on VHS, and my mom would watch it with me because, you know, basically it's like, yeah, I don't have a problem with you, like, you know, watching violent movies or playing violent video games, but I'm gonna, you know, sit down and, you know, play, you know, watch them or play them with you, basically, and kind of make sure that, you know, you're not confusing things with reality, and, you know, not let me run wild, I guess. So she was not being a helicopter parent. She was just kind of like making sure everything was okay.
More
I
of a
mean, I
hot,
still turned into a train wreck, but it's fine.
more of a hot
You can
air
only do so
parent.
much.
Well,
Anyway,
there's nature and there's nurture, and there's only half that the parents are responsible for. So, um, so your parents are pretty liberal about what you could watch, and that's pretty exciting. My parents were too, except for they had a problem with the the gore Italian gothics from Fulci and Argento. They somehow psychically knew that those were off limits, and there was a few titles like Texas Chainsaw that they had a problem with it, but in general they let me go.
that's good.
Yeah, well, I think so. And
Yeah,
I don't even regret that because there's something to be said about a certain level of prohibition creating more of a hunger.
it
So
does.
I don't know if I would love those Italian gore munchers quite as much as I do if they were allowed. So
Yeah, it's sort of like something that's kept away from you. You'd want it even more. It's almost like kind of a function of the shadow in real life. You know, the shadow being the darker part of your psyche. If anybody likes Jung here as much as I do, which is a lot. So, you know, I feel like it's really important to always acknowledge those darker parts because otherwise you repress them and then you repress them too long and then they come back and they bite you in the ass. So, like for me, I have a huge ego. I like to let my ego run around and get its yayas out every now and then it can go back. But I have to acknowledge that, oh, that's still there. I also have an extremely bad temper, which, if you know me in real life, you're like, well, no shit. So it's like, yeah, I let that run amok for, you know, a little bit here and there. And then, you know, it's like, okay, got to go back.
I just
But
there's a comment and a question already in the chat for you. So from the same person, Daniel Shine from the Flesh Wound Features show on YouTube says, "Oh my God, I love her already. Millennium was brilliant."
nice.
And he did correct his
Millennium
spelling.
fans unite.
He did correct his spelling in the next message, but I'm not going to bring that up. And then he asks, do you have a favorite bizarre non-mainstream horror film that you love and constantly push friends to watch? Mine is The Curious Dr. Hump.
Non-mainstream horror. Oh, I don't even know what Dr. Hump is. I mean, that could be a porno. I'm just saying.
It almost is.
Well, that makes sense then. As far as non-mainstream stuff, I don't want to. I mean, Babadook is kind of mainstream at this point. I feel like most horror fans already know about it and have seen it. I mean, we have excellent Babadook memes out there, but again, that's one of those movies that resonated with me a lot because it is about having to acknowledge the darker parts of you, having to master your monster, so to speak. You can't defeat it. You do have to live with it. And that was, it was just right on point. I think a lot of people can translate that into grief, into trauma, into addiction, anything. I mean, for me, I have light PTSD. So for me, that's how I interpreted it, as trauma. And, as a sober person for almost a year, I could, I still do that with alcohol every now and then. Because it's like, well, can't fucking have that because, it's going to fuck with my mental health and it's going to mess up my meds. But I acknowledge the fact that I still want it. I mean, I still miss it. But, not at the point where I feel like it's controlling my life. And I also had opioid addiction like way back when, but that wasn't nearly as bad as the alcohol because those are much harder to get. I have an attic brain, apparently.
Apparently, scarcity was the key to you kicking the problem. So,
Yeah. I
yeah,
had to go, just bone dry. No tapering off. I
I
still
think
smoke cigarettes. I gotta have at least one vice.
uh, I think Babadook is really brave for saying something. It's funny because there's a Bob Bird joke about this too, and it's I think brilliant to say, like, sometimes people hate the things they're supposed to love, and no one wants to admit it. So it's a really brave thing to say. You know, sometimes you hate your children.
Yeah, but sometimes you do.
Yeah, but society is completely saying we can't say that. And what I think is one of the brilliant things about the horror genre is that it's about all those emotions that are uncomfortable. And
Yeah, and there were definitely some uncomfortable parts in the Babadook between I don't even remember any of the characters' names from that movie. That's so sad. Between our main character and her son. And I don't have kids except for a cat, but my mother is disabled, and uh, I've been taking care of her since I was like 18. And really, at this point, she's starting to go like real bad. I mean, it is like it's like my husband and I found out that, oh, surprise, you have a child. Oh, she's 67 years old. So that's, there are times when it's like, oh, I hate my mom so much. My parents are divorced, so they've been divorced for like years and years and years. My dad and my stepmom live in Louisiana.
oh,
So, yeah, it's just like
I'm
my
sorry
mom
for
doesn't.
them.
Huh?
I'm sorry for them.
Oh, damn!
No
You're
offense,
throwing shade at
no
the
offense,
movie?
Christian. It's all good. Yeah. No, I think that's one of the brilliant things about the horror, like the horror as a art form, is that it can go to really it can go to places that in any other art form would be so off-putting, but because there's this veneer of dark fantasy over it, you can say things that you can't say anywhere else. You
Yeah.
know, even a bad horror film can be about subjects that we need to hear about, and I don't see anywhere else you get that.
Are there bad horror movies?
Yes.
Okay.
But that does not mean that. So that's a thing in this community, big time. Some people hate the word guilty pleasure. They think that phrase is evil. They say, "Well, I don't feel guilty about watching it." Well, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, objectively, there's films that are bad. Doesn't mean you can't enjoy them. Doesn't mean you can't love them. Doesn't mean you can't watch them every day and with a smile plastered on your silly face and just have the time of your life. Maybe they even increase the value of your life to watch these shitty ass movies. But we need to be honest. There's Silence of the Lambs, and then there's Brain of Blood. Now, I like Brain of Blood more than I like Silence of the Lambs. I like Brain of Blood more than I like Silence of the Lambs, but it doesn't change the fact that one is a legitimately great film and the other one is, well, not.
I totally agree with you on the guilty pleasures thing. I don't think that you should be guilty.
Well, but I'm saying I like keeping them separate in my mind so that I at least am speaking the same language as people.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
No, I get it. I mean, I think, it really does depend on your taste. And that, yeah, there are some movies that are objectively bad. I wanted to ask you, what was the last bad movie, like legitimately bad horror movie that you saw?
Freaky.
Oh, wait a second. That sounds really familiar. I probably didn't watch that for a reason.
That was the Blumhouse horror take on Freaky Friday.
Oh, God damn it. Blumhouse is just hit or miss sometimes.
More miss recently than hit.
Okay, I own the Blumhouse version of Black Christmas, and I'm so mad at myself. I hate it so much. Have you seen it?
No.
I have to go off on a second I have to go off on this rant if I may.
Absolutely, go for it.
Okay, 1974's Black Christmas, beautiful. It's something that the more that I watch it, I appreciate the little pieces more and more. 2006 Black Christmas. It is I Gouge the movie. That's all you're getting. And there's some fucked up shit that's happening in there with Billy's backstory, but I can appreciate what they're trying to do and really sort of flesh that storyline out and really give you more information on the killer. And we had that new Black Christmas. And I'm pretty sure it was Blumhouse. If I'm wrong, somebody can yell at me.
It was.
Because it's like, they'll do things like Invisible Man, which is like, holy crap, knock it out of the park. And then they'll give me garbage like fucking Black Christmas, where there's literally toxic masculinity. I'm sorry I have to say that, but it's literally toxic masculinity coming out of the statue. I'm like, why are we doing this?
Because some people
like, is this the best you could do?
Because some people like to hear their own thoughts projected as loud as humanly possible.
I know, but you don't have to hit me over the head with it. I'm gonna get concussed over here.
Well, but they want that. That movie was a screed. It was not, I didn't see it again. But I know exactly what.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, there's cats running around here. That's part of the charm of the show. Is that eventually a cat will intercept the chair and take over the show, and I'll not be necessary. Dan also agrees. He says Blumhouse missed by a mile with that piece of shit. Yeah, and Off the Grill podcast says he's decided he doesn't like beardless Lauren. Well, Lauren only had a beard because he was recovering from surgery. Now that the surgery is gone, the beard is gone.
Ooh, what kind of surgery was that? I want to hear details. It's like real life gore.
Well, so you want to talk menstruation? Here we go. I can do the male version of this. So I had a hydrocelectomy.
What is that?
So inside your body, lining the inside of your epidermis, the inside of your skin wall, there is a material that's extremely spongy, and it can form. It's made to retain water. When we say the body is mostly water, this is where the water actually is in your body. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason it's there is because all your internal organs need a buffer to keep them insulated and moist. Right. So sometimes when there's a certain level of trauma to the body, that layer will form just a sac, and it'll fill with liquid, and that liquid cannot get out. Now, in males, this very commonly happens in the scrotum.
Oh.
Okay. So for the last 19 years, I've been carrying around a sac of bodily fluid next to my testicle. And so they made a 3-inch incision and they cut that out.
Yee, that sounds fun.
So yesterday was the first day since the surgery that I had jeans back on. I've been living in sweatpants.
It's okay. We can't see them. We wouldn't mind if you lived in sweatpants. I'm wearing leggings right now. That's all I have on. I mean, I have a shirt on, obviously, but I don't bother with pants, and neither should anybody else if you don't have to.
In these COVID days, pants are the old world.
It's true.
But yeah, so if you want the beard back, you have to cause me to have major surgery again, or at least surgery again.
I'd like to apologize for my Blair Witch Cam happening right now. I'm on my laptop, so it's just sitting in my closet. I'm in the closet, guys. I'm in the pod closet right now. So apologies if shaky cam's happening for all y'all. Not trying to make anybody motion sick.
That's okay. Surgery
man.
is that. There we go.
Dick move, guys.
Jay the Stingray says pants are overrated.
Jay is correct. Well, I'm glad you made it through the surgery, and I'm glad that you're able to wear jeans again. I mean, if you want, but
when I go out, because it's really limited. Like the only place you're really comfortable wearing sweatpants out is the Walmart, because then you're like in the tribe. But yeah, it was awkward actually having to be out in public in sweatpants. So I'm glad now I can throw on jeans for an hour or two.
Okay, this is going to sound weird, but are sweatpants and pajama pants essentially in the same category of pants for you, or do you consider them different kinds of pants? Because I kind of put leggings and like yoga pants in the same category as things I would sleep in.
I don't even know how to answer that. It's kind of like it's like you're a Catholic asking if Protestants are real Christians. I just don't know how to answer that.
Well, yeah, I know it's a weird tangent to ask. It's sort of just like, because a friend of mine, we were talking about how like dudes won't go outside in pajama pants or something like that. And I noticed my husband actually put on pants for the repairman a couple weeks ago for our dryer. And I got to thinking, and I was like, and I was curious. I asked him, like, is it like a penis thing? Like, you don't want the silhouette of your penis to, like, other dudes seeing it? I'm sorry. I've already asked too many intimate questions. I already know too much about your genitalia already.
Well, yeah. Well, I think everyone watching the show currently feels that way. But no, listen. I can answer the question in one respect. Is that you know, we always talk about like guys having like, I don't know, special treatment in society, having privileges. Well, I'll tell you one place we definitely don't have privilege is that when we look white trash, we look really white trash real fast. Like that dial doesn't go from 1 to 10, it's 1 or 10. So like, a chick can go out of the house in sweatpants and people go, she was probably jogging. No one says that about guys. They go, yeah, he's trash. That's it. It's done. It's like, that's the decision. So we don't even have classifications. You ask about yoga pants and pajama pants and sweat. We don't even have that vocabulary. You're speaking like ancient Sumerian to us. That's just language we don't get.
Okay. I was just breaking it down just to, because I thought I was making too broad of a swath, because if I can sleep in my pants, I will, and I don't really care what they are. I'm not going to sleep in my jeans, so. But like anything could be something to sleep in. They don't have to be pajamas. I'll sleep in leggings, yoga pants, whatever. I routinely do that.
So Jay says sweatpants and a tuxedo t-shirt, and I'm good to go.
That's classy, man.
Yeah. Jamie says I'm pro tank top and granny panties for sleeping. And
that's funny that he brought up granny panties, because I'm not wearing granny panties, but I was going to wear like my favorite pair of underwear, which has a cute little like cartoon Freddy Krueger on it. They're actually dude's underwear, but my husband bought them for me because I love Freddy Krueger. And, it says, I'm the man of your dreams on the front. But then I went to go put them on, and I'm like, these look like they still have detergent dried in the bottom of them. And I'm like, that is going to cause an infection. That's going to be like Tidepods, the sequel.
I don't know that I should be honored that you made that, you were even considering a special wardrobe for the show or not. I just don't know.
I took a shower for this, goddammit.
Oh my God. I will tell you that Tide Pods got a bad rap because they are actually tastier than you think, and all you hear about is children choking on them. If they would chew, they wouldn't have this problem.
I feel like it's more of like a melt in your mouth, not in your hand situation.
Sure, that's why they put that layer of dissolvable plastic around them. Otherwise, it would just be like, Jell-O in a bowl.
Well, yeah, but it's like a gobstopper, right? When you get to you just suck on the gobstopper, you get all the different flavors, and I feel it's like just like a Tide Pod.
Yeah. Well, the blue section is my favorite. It's the best.
Yeah, but I like the texture of the actual like detergentness. I'm just making shit up now.
It's not like this conversation really makes a lot of sense anyway, so go for it.
Yeah, I know. I just like the texture of it. I don't understand those people. I am one of those people that has an issue with textures in food, though. I don't understand how people can I just like it for the texture.
Yeah, I'm
those people are serial killers.
I'm the opposite way. Like, I don't have any problem with the taste of mushrooms, but man, no. So Dan asks, biggest horror movie crush?
Fictional or actor?
Doesn't matter.
All right. I got a lot. I mean, if we're going with actresses, Catherine Isabel and Heather Langenkamp for sure. I think Catherine Isabel is...
You just like girls with highlights, then?
I maybe. I might have had I don't know if there are any wrestling fans out there, because I've been in a super wrestling mood because it's WrestleMania season. So I don't know if anybody remembers Velvet Sky from TNA when she had the from 2008 TNA when she had the hella highlights. I had those highlights in high school, so it could be the highlights.
I think there is something there. If you say that Ashley Lawrence is in that list, then it definitely is the highlights. Then we're done. We
Oh, I
figured.
like Ashley Lawrence quite a bit. I think she's like super attractive, but she's definitely. It's so funny because she's like, oh, when I first saw Hellraiser and Hellbound, I was just thinking, man, like she's Heather, like she reminds me so much of Heather Langenkamp. And then Heather Langenkamp shows up in a Hellraiser movie later on, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? That was so weird, but I actually have another. I do have male crushes. I promise. I'm a healthy, red-blooded woman married to a man, a very tall man, as tall as Andre the Giant. His actual height, not his build height. But so I did have, I definitely have kind of a little bit of a crush on Anthony Hopkins from, being Hannibal Lecter. Can't help it. But I've got no, that not that way. This way. There we go. Yeah, Robert Englund. And again, that's because I grew up watching those movies. Like, I watched Freddy's Dead so much, I broke my mom's brain, and she still quotes that movie for no reason in situations where those quotes are just inappropriate now. We'll be going in the car, and she'll be like, no screaming while the bus is in motion. I'm like, I severely damaged my mother when I was 7 years old, and I had no idea. But my husband and I actually got engaged at a horror convention, and he surprised me because we did a photo shoot, like a photo op with Robert Englund, Heather Langenkamp. And he said, oh, well, I accidentally bought 2 packages, because I thought you only got like 1 photo and I wanted us to get 2 photos. And I was like, oh, I don't remember the reasoning behind this. And I was like, oh, well, you really shouldn't have spent that much, but okay. And so the first one goes fine. We're smiling. And then we go for the second one. And he gets, he says, Sam. And I turn around and he's on his knee with the engagement ring out. And I was speechless, but it was such a cute moment. And we made Heather Langenkamp cry. And Robert Englund was like, let's get another one. So they let us take a third one. And I was like, oh.
So, kids, what you've learned is if you fake a wedding proposition at a horror convention, you'll get a free photo.
Well, I mean, we had to pay like an extra $15, but it's like, fuck it.
Yeah, but that was probably like what, a $50 to $100 photo. So this is the horror movie convention equivalent of claiming it's your birthday at Friendly's. So you get the free ice cream.
Kind of.
Except you guys went through with it. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been married for a little bit over a year now, which is weird because it's like we got married right before the lockdowns hit. When our anniversary came up, I was like, damn, it's been a long 2 weeks.
You guys broke the world.
We did. That's the thing. I made that joke like as soon as we got back because we left. We went to Vegas and we just did it there. And we left on March 9th. We're waiting in LAX. Our flight back was 75% empty. But we were waiting in LAX and, Italy shut the country down. I'm like, well, fuck. This is our unholy union. I knew this would happen if I ever got married.
So Jess Graham asks, is Nightmare on Elm Street series your favorite horror franchise?
It's up there. I'm going to have to say yes. I got engaged, at a, fucking photo shoot with Robert Englund with Heather Langenkamp. So it is, but the reasons behind it are really kind of, they're weird and a little complex. Growing up and watching horror movies, I thought, something that really was inspiring was the way Wes Craven wrote Nancy. Because she fucking set traps for Freddy. I didn't see fucking Jamie Lee Curtis setting no traps for Michael Myers. Like, damn, bitch. So, seeing that at a young age, I'm like, I felt like, Laurie Strode got too much credit versus Nancy Thompson. And that's just my opinion. I know I'm not discrediting Laurie Strode or Jamie Lee Curtis, but Halloween series, you guys have How many kids have you retconned of Laurie Strode's?
Yeah, Halloween is definitely the series that needs to be told by the bartender that they need to go home.
Yes, that is the
just,
best analogy I've heard for it.
It's just too far gone. It's like you need to sleep for another 20, 25 years and let someone else, who barely remembers take over. So Dan actually asks, what are your thoughts on Hellraiser Judgment? Now, I haven't seen that one, and people tell me it's the good one at the end of the bad stretch of bad.
I remember seeing it, and I was like, there seems like there's a lot of bureaucratic red tape in hell now. I'm not sure what happened. I must have missed something, because there was a long stretch between, it's like, okay. So, first 3 Hellraisers, okay, first 2, great. Third one, okay, it's shaky. It's shaky, guys.
Wonky.
I had fun with it. Little shaky. Fourth one,
CD
I don't really understand
CD Head Cenobite didn't work for me.
So which one?
CD Head Cenobite didn't work for me.
Oh, it worked for me, man. Fuck. And then it's sort of like the Saw movies. It's like you keep up with the storyline for the first few movies, and then they just keep making movies, and you're like, how many are there? I would recommend going and giving Judgment a watch, though, because I remember, it's like thinking, well, you know what? This was interesting. I'm just kind of like Doug Bradley's Pinhead. I'm sorry. That's,
Steak Sauce says, it's Wes Craven. Booby traps were an inevitability. My question about in Nightmare on Elm Street with that is, like, I know when I'm just trying to, like, fix the door because the hinge is loose, I never have what I need. And I end up having to make, like, 3 runs to Lowe's because I buy the wrong thing twice. But she had everything she needed for those traps. And if you think about it, she did that after she took the medicine to fall asleep. So she was groggy, had everything she needed, and still pulled off all the traps.
All right, now I'm thinking, okay, like, what zodiac sign is Nancy?
All of them.
Like, she can't be all of them. But I'm like,
it was a long labor.
Like, how do you? I mean, I can barely function with sleep. I'm not even good at fixing things when I'm fully awake. And when I had my old truck before it finally just died on me years ago, that was me in AutoZone. Like, you and Lowe's, me in AutoZone. Always going back and forth because I don't have the right part to fix something.
You're like,
but yeah, no, I mean, getting to see that was huge. And then again, just getting interested in Dream Theory. Nightmare on Elm Street led me to that road, and it was weird. So, as far as other horror franchises go, I think we don't give the first 2 Wishmaster movies enough credit. 3 and 4 can fuck right off. Ain't no Andrew Divoff, I ain't watching. The first one's awesome. I still love that first one. But in second one, it's fine. It's got Andrew Divoff. I'll watch it, and I do appreciate the fact that you get to see a guy fuck himself. I'm like, yes, I've always wanted to see I've always wanted to see that on screen. I mean, not in the weird like porn sense, but y'all know what I mean. That's a terrible way to die. That's a creative death. Give me more of that. But the third one and the fourth one were just garbage. Oh, my favorite remake.
Jamie asks, what's your favorite remake?
Okay. I can tell you what my least favorite remake is. No, I'll get to that later. Favorite remake? I thought Evil Dead from 2013 was solid. Because it was I saw it with my friend Veronica. We went to the theater to see it, and it was probably, I don't know what weekend it was, not opening weekend. But it was one of those movies where it actually is unsettling enough so that, like, she got lost driving us home. Or driving me back to my place, and then she went home. So, anyway. Yeah, I mean, and I thought that was a solid remake of everybody's going to come for my head now.
Oh, don't worry. These people know that I prefer the remake of Dawn of the Dead to the original, and I get shit about that all the time.
Oh, I love the Dawn of the Dead remake. That one's so fun.
It doesn't put me to sleep, unlike the original.
Yeah.
And I remember when there wasn't a Day of the Dead, so believe me. It's not an age thing. There's no nostalgia there, but so yeah, no rage. I love unpopular opinions, man. I tell people on this show all the time that I hate aliens, and they fucking flip out on me. So don't worry. Unpopular opinions rule the world.
I'm gonna close this fucking podcast window right now. How do I get out of here? No, I'm kidding.
You wouldn't be the first. I think the Evil Dead remake is really good. I would get rid of that first scene with the witch in the cabin that has nothing to do with any fucking thing that follows it.
Yeah.
But the rest of the movie is really, really solid, and I like it a lot. I like the Hills Have Eyes remake a lot. I think that surpassed the original as well. I even like the Last House on the Left remake a lot. I don't know. I obviously The Fly, although I really do love the original Fly a lot. I like the original trilogy is close to my heart. And
Jeff
actually,
Goldblum and Gina Davis.
Close to my desk too.
Good.
But so I'm not against remakes. I'm against waves of remakes, because then we're just making them for the wrong reasons, and we're shitting out stuff like the Fog remake, which I think has to be a contender for worst remake and possibly worst film. Yeah, shit like that shouldn't have happened.
I didn't even bother to watch it because I was like, why would I do that? I could just go watch The Fog.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason to.
You know how The Fog is all about mood and atmosphere?
Yeah.
There's none of that in the remake.
That was real smart. I'm glad that, it's a good thing that they did that.
The thing I really love about it is they decided fog machines are overrated. We'll just do digital fog.
Fuck that shit. Oh my God.
Like they couldn't even be bothered.
It's like when they did, okay, so here it is. Like, here's the issue. It's like, okay, John Carpenter's The Thing, remake of the 50s version. And obviously, okay, nobody's really going to take that down. And then we got The Thing in 2011, and I'm like, what is this? I know it's not a remake. It's like a prequel, but you called it The Thing, and then you decided to paint over the special effects. And I'm like, what is this?
You know that,
not technically a remake, kind of.
You know that in 2022, we are getting Blumhouse The Thing, right? For real.
I just died inside.
Oh, I die several times whenever I read about the entertainment news, so don't worry. You'll get used to dying.
I actually heard, I haven't seen it, but I really want to hate watch the remake of The Craft, and I know The Craft is like, maybe not completely horror, but, whatever. I heard that was absolute shit, and I want to see it so badly, but I'm not pulling another Black Christmas with it.
Well, then don't watch Freaky, because...
I'll watch it if it's free, if it's on my streaming services, already, but I'm not actually paying to rent it.
So, for Freaky, they literally decided there wouldn't be dialogue, there'd just be slogans in their place. So, every, progressive, cause that has a slogan just gets reiterated instead of characters talking.
I was thinking, along the lines of Idiocracy, people just saying, it's what plants crave for no reason.
Well, I would have preferred that. It's just an obnoxious film. Besides that, even if you took all the messaging out, which it would have been 10 minutes long, but if you took it all out, it'd still be a miserably bad film.
Oh yeah, I will definitely hate watch that. I do enjoy hate watching things. Like I did, I saw The Grudge.
Blumhouse again.
Fuck me, man. Okay, we were talking about good remakes, right? So the 2005 remake, the 2005 version, the American version of the American remake of the Japanese version, I thought it was solid compared to Ju-on. Even if you did have to leave out, say, a storyline here or there, because you've only got so much time and an audience that's going to pay so much attention to somebody that's not Sarah Michelle Gellar. But you had Takashi Shimizu, and you had Takako Fuji. That was... Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for setting it in Japan. Thank you for making me feel like this actually is a working movie. And then the 2020 version of The Grudge comes out, and I'm like, what? Why? It turned into The Ring at the end. And I'm like, well, good job, guys. You I mean, I'd rather go watch Sadako versus Kayako again.
I thought that movie was way better than it had any right to be.
It was wild at the end. I'm like, what the fuck is going? Now what? Can I get a sequel to that?
There was these like mini remakes of Ringu and Juon, and then it turns into like this crazy spectral fight in the house, and then I mean, it makes no sense. And they retconned like everything to make it happen. But I had a lot of fun with it. I'm not gonna say it's good, but I had a lot of fun with it. Have you seen though the original 2 television movies, Juon and Juon 2, that they just remade as theatricals?
I don't. No, I saw the. No, I've only seen the theatrical. I saw the Juon and the second and the sequel one and the sequel to Juon, but they were the theatricals. They were not the TV movies.
Search out those TV movies. Search out those TV movies. You probably have to go to a bootleg dealer for them, unfortunately, because the imports are ridiculously expensive. But I think it's the best version of Juon is the television movies. I think they blow all the theatrical versions away. All of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jacob actually is pointing out that we're both wrong, and he's right. Invasion of the Body Snatchers 78 is probably his favorite remake. Damn.
That is a very, very good point.
Yeah.
Solid.
I think Jacob just wins the night.
Yeah. I mean,
good thing I don't give out prizes on this show. I'd be broke.
I don't think there is like a best remake. I can tell you where all the shitty remakes are.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a longer show.
I know. That's too long of a show.
Favorite foreign films is a question in the chat.
Definitely Juon. The theatrical version. I did get a chance to see that in a theater, and it was also one of those movies where it scared me and my then boyfriend at the time. It scared us so bad he got lost driving us home. That's how I know a horror movie has done its job correctly. And how I came about that is like finding out about Juon. So I saw the trailer probably on something like Ain't It Cool or ComingSoon.net, and this was back in 2003. I was working like 2 jobs at the time and going to school part-time. So I had a stalking job I have to be at 5 in the morning at Target. And so I'm like, oh, it's 3:30. I just need to wake up a little bit. Anything going on online? And I watched the trailer for Juon at 3:30 in the morning, and just that part where Kayako is bent over the bed over Rika. Holy crap, that scared me. I was like, ugh, that is terrifying. So that's what brought me to seek it out. So that has a very special place in my heart because that was a shitty time in my life. It was very tiring. It's like going between like one job in the morning and then one job at night, and then it's like you get off work at 10, you're in bed by 11 and you're awake by 3:30 again. Fuck that.
Retail is fun.
Uh-huh.
So if you haven't seen it, I'm going to make a plea that and you obviously like slashers. So if you want to see the most inventive, cool, creative slasher ever made, game over.
My eyes are not very good.
Game over. It's simply otherworldly great with the best final girl ever.
Okay.
It is an Indian film, so get those subtitles ready. You can find it on Netflix, but you have to search for it. It will not just magically come up in a list. As you're scrolling through, it'll never actually show up. But if you type Game Over, first listing will be a documentary about video games. Second thing will be the Indian film. Watch the version that's in Tamil.
Okay. It's not like Netflix is running out of Indian horror movies. It's like if you spend too long in the horror section on Netflix, and you're like, I need something to watch. And then you hit the Indian movies, you've gone too far, you have to turn around. Unless, again, you are looking for something specific.
Yeah. Well, this one is unbelievable. I mean, honestly, Tapsi Pannu is the lead. She's so good. She's I don't want to spoil anything in the movie, but I'll say this. She is a rape survivor who is suicidal because of the societal pressures on her. And at the same time, there's a serial killer killing women in the town.
Oh, wow, except for the serial killer part. That sounds like my life.
And at a certain point, she hurts herself very, very badly and has to deal with the serial killer after she's put herself if you look back there, the poster kind of reveals it in a wheelchair.
Oh, Jesus, yeah, I can see that.
Kind of more of a disadvantage than Amy Steele or Ashley Lawrence. And also, it should be noted that Tapsi Pannu won the equivalent of an Academy Award for her portrayal in a slasher movie.
American awards are garbage.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to stop. I'm going to get off my soapbox about Game Over because, believe it or not, we've already gone 50 minutes.
Doesn't even feel like that.
Everyone says
like
that.
You just like chipped into the surface, man.
But Jess Graham actually wants you to answer your own question and says, "What is the worst remake?"
Well, I've seen the Poltergeist remake and it's terrible, but the worst remake is the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, and I will tell you all why. I am a person that has very high standards for my Nightmare on Elm Streets. Obviously. I went into this movie hearing all of the buzz, and all of this, and all of that, and Billy Bob Thornton might play Freddy Krueger, and I'm like, what the fuck ever, just get the movie done, I'll go see it when it comes out. I got into the movie on a date with no expectations. None. I was like completely open-minded. And that's very much not like me because I am a Virgo and judgy as fuck. And this movie pissed me off so bad I almost walked out of the theater, but I didn't. I wasn't the one driving. If I had met my date at the theater, I would have been like, peace. Actually, I'm going to have to follow that up because I have another bad remake that I need to talk about too.
Cool.
So there's a line in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake that incenses me. And I mean, it's already gross enough that you've made the anti-hero of the franchise a child molester instead of just like, hey, just leave it as a child killer. That's it. Just leave it there. It's like, you never go full molester. And you guys know that joke from Tropic Thunder, and I'm not going to say that word on here, so you can fill in the blanks. So, but you never go full molester. And they went full molester. It was nasty. And Jackie Earle Haley looked like a fucking Muppet. Who did that makeup?
Well, they used CGI on top of the bad makeup, so there you go.
That was horrible. I mean, guys, how many? Just go, fucking go get somebody from one of the old movies. They're not all dead, I'm sure. So there's a line in the remake where Quentin, who's supposed to be the love interest, says that is confronting his father about putting an innocent man to die. We were just kids. We didn't know what we were saying. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is you're literally victim blaming. And I hate using that word, but that's what it was. And I was so mad. I was just like, that's the part where I was fucked out. It's here. I have trauma from that line of dialogue. I demand, I need to be compensated. Where is Jim Adler, the Texas Hammer, when I need him?
That movie almost did something brave and cool, which is what pisses me off. They almost made Freddy not guilty and the parents' revenge misplaced. And if you do that, it changes the context. It becomes that's an interesting variation of that character. But as soon as they introduce the idea, they're like, "Oh no, we were just kidding. He's just a child killer and molester." No. And it's just like,
gross.
Why bring up the idea if you're not going to live it through? Why do it?
Also, fuck you, Rooney Mara. You're bad at playing Nancy. The micro naps were cool. I'll give it that. That was interesting because your brain actually is always dreaming. It's just a matter of whether you're conscious or unconscious. So, bruh. I love Jay the Stingray already.
Everyone loves Jay the Stingray.
I nap as much as I can. I wouldn't say they're micro. They're more like macro naps. But I did think the micro naps were very interesting because right now I'm reading a book on fatal familial insomnia, which is a prion disease. So, there's fatal familial, and then there's also sporadic fatal familial insomnia and sporadic fatal insomnia, where it's like if a protein in your brain folds the wrong way and it goes and it turns into origami, you just stop fucking sleeping. And I'm like, nobody, that doesn't worry anybody. It's sort of like flesh-eating bacteria, And it was funny because you were talking about mushrooms earlier, and I was listening to a podcast about a flesh-eating fungus, and this dude lost his face. And I love mushrooms, but even listening to that, I was like, ooh. But yeah, that is probably worst remake, followed by, because I gotta do it, this is the only movie that I have only walked out of 2 movies. The Hellboy remake, and I will let everybody else guess what the other movie I walked out of was. And it's a ghost movie, but it's not a horror movie.
What was it, Ghost?
Yeah, it's a family comedy movie.
Was it Ghost Dad?
Oh, you got it!
Cool.
Nice, good job. Nobody ever gets that. I'm very impressed. No, so I've only walked out of 2 movies, Ghost Dad and the Hellboy remake, because the Hellboy remake was all over the place.
How do you screw up Mila? Like, you have Mila. How do you screw that up? I don't get it.
There was so much happening in that movie.
But plot wasn't one of them.
No. I was like, as soon as Merlin showed up, I'm like, nope, I'm out. My brain was like, done. Oh, God. That movie was I sat through the entire Slender Man movie, which is saying something. So, yeah, don't waste your time on Hellboy. Like, that's going to give you whiplash. There's so much happening in the whatever they're calling a story.
You know what's funny? I get like really hopeful that films that a lot of people hate, I'll love. So I went into that one like, okay, this is already getting beat up by everyone. I'm hoping it's one of those situations where like I can champion the fuck out of this thing, because I always want to see the bright, and then when I don't see it, I become vicious. No, it's a disaster. It's a full point. I mean, I remember nothing about it, to be honest with you, but I remember.
I don't know which movie we're talking about, Slender Man
Hellboy.
or Hellboy.
Now, I knew the Slender Man movie didn't have a chance.
Yeah. Now, I know, I love David Harbour, and, I'm he's the best part of Stranger Things for me right now. I don't know if they're going to make a season 4. I'd like to see season 4 if he comes back.
I'm sure they will.
But, yeah, and I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing him in Black Widow whenever the fuck they decide to release that.
Oh, because Disney's playing that. We'll release it to streaming. No, we won't. Yeah, yes, we will. What week is it? What are the numbers?
Just
I don't know.
give me, it's like, God, just give me Black Widow already. I just, let me give you money for this. Oh my God.
Well, I'd say since Godzilla vs. Kong is doing phenomenal numbers, even despite the COVID restrictions and the theaters that aren't open, that's got to put it in Marvel's mind that they got to get it out theatrically, I would think.
People want to go back, I think, and I can't wait to see Godzilla and Kong. I just, I don't know when I'm going to have time, but I don't know anything about the storyline. I just stay away from all of this, like, oh, look, a trailer. Oh, I'm going to go see that. Cool. So, who's your pick to win?
Well, I've seen the movie. I went to the theater. I never stopped going. I never stopped going to the theater, by the way.
Oh, okay.
I went to drive-ins. I went to independent theaters. I drove an hour and a half to go see Saint Maud when it came out, because I was like, no, I want to see it on the big screen. That's how it has to be. So I'm going to drive.
Mm-hmm.
I never stopped. But I was always Team Kong. Always. The original King Kong is just a DNA film for me. I love Godzilla. I love the 54 Godzilla. And I love the current incarnation. The last movie, King of the Monsters, I thought was brilliant. But if you ask me which character is closer to my heart, it's got to be Kong. It's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the 33 version, and it's amazing for its time, and it's still a great movie. And I've seen the 2005 version of Kong, and I like that one too. It was a little long, but it, I think Peter Jackson was doing his best to keep it faithful to the original. And, I chased Adrian Brody's cheese grating abs all the way over to Predators after that.
Well, have you seen The Jacket?
I own The Jacket. I own most Adrian Brody movies that I love.
Yeah. I love that movie. It's not really a horror film though. It's a speculative fiction film, but
it is fascinating though.
It's a great film that I think a lot of people need to reevaluate, because I think people thought of it as the Fight Club thing, and it's not that. It's not just the unreliable narrator thing. It's a lot more closer in intent to 12 Monkeys, the original film, not the television series.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's a pretty misunderstood film, and unfortunately it never gets talked about, and I think it should be.
Yeah, it is a good one. It's very just under the radar there. I did want to ask, because there was that question earlier about maybe, I forget if somebody asked it or if you asked it, but non-mainstream horror film. Something that you wouldn't necessarily see put out by a big studio, I guess. But I really have to solid recommend for Await Further Instructions. That movie was it's really exciting when you get to see a new idea on the screen and it's executed well. And I liked it so much that I was doing a show with my friend Austin, and I think we were doing another movie, and then I was telling him about Await Further Instructions, and then he wanted to do a double, and I got drunk as fuck, because I was already drinking during the first episode, and then we hit Await Further Instructions, and then it just went downhill. And I remember I think he had to follow my ass home because I was just down the street from my producer's house, or producer's place where he was doing the recording. But I got home in one piece, thankfully. But I got up into my apartment, said hello to my boyfriend, now husband, while we were engaged, I think. Nope. Yes. I don't remember. Time means nothing. Anyway, I got up to the apartment, and my husband was asking me if I'm okay, and I'm like, yeah. And then I go into the bathroom, and then all of a sudden, it's just thud right on the hardwood floor. Kids, don't become an alcoholic like your Aunt Sam, okay?
You say time means nothing, but BC net does now mean before COVID, right? We've reset the clock.
Oh, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it before COVID.
I have less days in front of me than behind me anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. It's I can't keep up with the Utes and all of their language now, and it's just yeet was bad enough, and now it's I don't know what based means, and I'm like, what are we? Where did these things come from? I'm not going on your TikTok. I don't want Chinese spyware on my phone. I'm sorry, guys. I just can't do it. I can't keep up with all of you. Too old for this shit.
Yeah, at the point where you make me feel old because I had to Google what stan means. I just want to hurt. Yep. I just want to hurt someone.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep. I remember telling my husband we were talking about X-Men, and I was saying I was a Gambit and Rogue stan before I even knew what a stan was.
It's very, very odd.
X-Men the animated series, man. It was good times. We didn't deserve that. It was so good to us, and now we have just garbage cartoons.
Listen, there was actual Saturday morning cartoons when I was a kid, the real thing. So.
Oh yeah, same for me. Wait, how old are you?
I will be 48 in August.
You don't look close to it at all.
Well, thank you.
I was thinking you were in your 30s.
Wow. Well, that's way too generous. I am a guy who had his balls cut open 2 weeks ago. So
does that make you younger?
Apparently, that's what I'm saying. I should look older, right? I'm thinking that kind of surgery should age you. So
yeah, I guess not.
Maybe had we been on a show a month ago, you would have thought I was in my 20s. So we never really got there. Shibby Jeeby's podcast. How did it start?
This is what happens when I'm on a show. I take a direction. I keep going. But as far as the podcast goes, like what led me to make it, I have to say, like, I was partially inspired by our other podcasts because I discovered podcasts in 2015. Everybody point and laugh at me now. Do it. Somebody pull out the Nelson haha. So I would say the biggest influence I had was We Hate Movies. That is an awesome podcast. Those guys are all really funny. I've seen them live, and they are all super cool. I was lucky enough to get to briefly, just kind of like say hi in passing to 3 of them. Tell them that they had a great show. But I listen every week. I also really like Red Letter Media. Those guys are awesome.
Brilliant.
Yes. Like every time Rich Evans laughs, and he has that laugh that causes everybody else to laugh. And seriously, he's probably my favorite on there.
I'm telling dead serious, and people laugh at me about this, but because they've seen Space Cop. But I would say that if Hollywood knew what they were doing, they would hire those guys to make an actual real feature. The way they would make it, not have them make something programming, just make their kind of thing on the budget where they could do anything they wanted. Because I think they are kind of this generation's South Park.
I can see that.
Or even the Simpsons, though I never really understood the Simpsons thing. I just think they really have changed film criticism as an art form. In ways that are so creative and so important, and they don't alienate their audience by being something other. I always hated the Siskel and Ebert thing, whereas they felt they were better than the movies they were watching.
Yeah, that's obviously part of the charm of Red Letter, and same with We Hate Movies. It's they're in New York, so it's a little bit different. But
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Red Letter is Wisconsin. That's more like that's a little closer to my working class self right there.
Yeah.
So and it's like I'm just gonna watch these guys drink. It's it's just like I'm just gonna live vicariously through them. But no, I think what they're doing is brilliant, and I would never know about them if my husband hadn't started watching them. So I have to give all credit to him for that. He's exposed me to a lot of great entertainment, and that's part of the reason that, we mesh together, I think, so well, is that we influence each other in these weird ways. So I've gotten him to watch more horror movies, and then he tends to just, he plays straight man on the podcast a lot. And he came up with the name for Sheebie Jeebies, because I was like, I don't know what to call this. And he was like, Sheebie Jeebies? It's like Heebie Jeebies, just, but you're a she. And I'm like, I really like that. And that came about probably I think not too long after we started dating, a few months. That's when it started to get kicked off, and it was a departure from my previous creative activity, because I used to write a webcomic called The Adventures of Captain No Face with a friend of mine, and he did the art because I can't draw. So I would write, he would draw, we would put out comics weekly. And then that kind of, started to fall apart a little bit because we just, it was just, the storyline was not really there. He wanted to change the storyline, and just like, I had already done so much research on things, and it kind of just, I was like, whatever, I'm just going to wait a week and see what changes. And every week it was a new change. And then eventually I'm like, well, I'll wait and see until he decides where he wants to go with it. And I'm not trying to drag him or anything.
Art is hard.
Yeah. So
collaboration is deadly.
Comics to podcasting. And that was an adventure, because I'm lucky enough to have a producer that is willing to do all the technical stuff. And if it wasn't for him, the lighting on this on this episode would be shit, because like my camera on my laptop sucks ass. I have like right now I have like I have a grow light that my ex left behind, and then a fucking umbrella. That's what's creating this normal lighting. So that's the best I could do.
Well, you did great. I want to point out that I love the podcast. If you haven't experienced it, it is really fun discussions that are very much like if you grabbed your buddies and pulled them together, but with people who really know the genre. Like, you really know the genre and you're passionate about it, but your sense of humor and your personality are never asked to be in check. It has a free-flowing, I don't know, an attitude. It has an attitude. It's more than a little punk rock. And it's a little more adventurous than other.
Heinous bitch.
It's a little bit more untethered than a lot of what's out there, and I love that. I love that it goes places, but yet you never lose that sense that you're listening to someone who really loves the genre. So I love it, guys. In the description under this video, don't do it yet though, because that's mean. But in the description under this video, there is a link to Sheebie-Jeebies on YouTube. I want you all to subscribe right after this episode. No excuses. Don't be an asshole. Just do it. Okay? Done.
I do really appreciate the kind words, though. They do mean a lot to me, because I wanted to have conversations with people about horror movies in general, and I do have another one coming up that I haven't uploaded to YouTube, but it's with my ex who left the girl light behind. So, and he doesn't like horror movies except for The Thing. But there's a whole episode about like the other side of the aisle, about people that don't like horror movies and why, because I think it's important to like get both sides of a discussion. Not everybody's going to like horror movies, and that's fine. I'm just curious. So I am looking forward to putting that one up.
Darren has already subscribed. Dan is letting me know that you're going to do fantastic on YouTube. And Steak is apparently speaking French.
I'm sorry, I don't know any French. I know just like Spanish and Japanese.
French is like a language that became polluted like a lake.
It's hard for my brain to understand, because my brain wants to sound everything out, and that's not. I don't know how it's supposed to sound, how things are supposed to sound in French. I suppose if I actually bothered to study French, yes.
It's a language that like appropriates apostrophes to mean you're supposed to pronounce certain words certain ways. I mean, they're overthinking it. They need to just
put schwas on things.
Yeah, I mean, what's that about?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna ask you. It's funny because you were talking about Louisiana. My husband's from Louisiana, so he's from Lafayette. So it's funny. But yeah, it's like they have different ways of saying things. Like he says, he doesn't say yesterday. He says yesterday or something like that.
Yeah, I was just picking on Louisiana because our good friend Christian Hannah Horror is, of course, from Louisiana. And,
that's all good. I mean, Louisiana's like one of those states like Texas. It's like you can love it, but you can also make fun of it. I make fun of Texas on a daily basis.
Listen, I'm from Jersey. Everyone makes fun of Jersey. Okay? Now, they don't do it to our face because they know what would happen, but they make fun of Jersey.
Yeah, well, I mean.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to say anything about your governor, but,
Yeah, well.
Got your governor. Yeah. Oh, you got Billy Prempe, so that's pretty cool. I'm not going to say anything. Sorry. Oh, my God, I'm going into default Sam mode now.
So, Sam, I want to really thank you for coming on. You've been great. You've been awesome. An hour and 13 just went by in what felt like 10 minutes. And the show usually goes fast. Not quite this fast, but it went really, really fast. I think that you made some friends.
Oh, I hope so. I mean, everybody seems really cool. And, this was a really fun time. And I really appreciate you having me on, because just getting to talk horror and just kind of, this is like a big anxiety reliever for me. Oh my gosh, my kitty's here. Aw.
Do we get to see the cat?
I don't know. Is he? Night, come here. Come here. Do you want to be famous? Come here.
Mike Arnzen's cat went on camera. Your cat can go.
You can see his butt. There he is. Oh, right. Here you are. I don't know how he even got in here, dude.
He's a gray cat.
Well, he's a Russian blue, so he's a smart fucker.
Oh, okay. What's his name?
Knight.
Knight?
Uh-huh.
Cool. Was that with a K or an N?
Just an N.
Okay.
Yeah, night like the evening.
Cool.
I was about to say night like the color, and then I was like, no, that's midnight. I mean, that's blue. That's not his. Yeah. You know what I mean.
I know what you mean, and we'll pretend that everyone else does too. Hey, so this show will be back on Monday at 8 p.m. when I'll be joined by Empty Man creator Cullen Bunn, the guy who's responsible for the original comic book incarnation of one of last year's best genre films, and for an hour of talking about his contributions to the genre, both on the comic book panel and on the prose page. That should be a lot of fun, and I'll be nervous as all hell because you know how much I love Empty Man, everyone. And I have some other stuff coming up that can't be announced yet. At the end of the month, I have some exciting stuff that is in the books, but I'm going to wait to announce. In the meantime, everyone, stay safe.